Enjoy some more fun with film and philosophy. Alright, the two Matthew Foxes, A Lost Irony. There's a cosmic joke buried in the TV series Lost, one that most viewers never noticed. It's not about polar bears or smoke monsters or time travel paradoxes. It's about a name, Matthew Fox. Actor Matthew Fox played Jack Shephard, a character who undergoes a profound spiritual transformation from rationalist surgeon to mystical healer, embracing a vision of universal reconciliation and collective redemption. Meanwhile, theologian Matthew Fox, a real person, was literally expelled from the Catholic Church for teaching almost exactly that theology. One Matthew Fox was paid millions to perform a heresy, the other was silenced for preaching it, and the culture that condemned one instinctively rejected the other. Let me explain. Act 1. Jack Shephard's journey. Let's start with the fictional the fictional Matthew Fox. He's not a fictional Matthew Fox, he's an actor. Let's start with the real Matthew Fox, the actor playing fictional Dr. Jack Shephard. In the beginning, Jack is the embodiment of Western rationalism. He's a spine surgeon obsessed with fixing things through science, control, and sheer force of will. Live together, die alone, he says. But really, he wants to solve everything himself. His journey across 6 seasons is a slow dissolution of that ego. The island strips away his certainty, his control, his need to be the hero who saves everyone through his logic alone. By the finale, Jack has transformed completely. He's learned to let go. He's embraced faith over certainty. He sacrifices himself not as a lone savior, but part as something larger, a cosmic interconnection. And then comes the reveal. The sideways world isn't purgatory in the traditional sense. It's a liminal space where all the characters, regardless of their past sins, their beliefs, their moral ledgers, heal together through love and relationship. No one is left behind. Not Jack, not Kate, not Sawyer, not even Ben Linus, the manipulative killer who spent years tormenting everyone. There's no heaven versus hell binary, no saved versus damned, no gatekeepers checking doctrinal purity at the door. Instead, everyone ultimately finds their place in wholeness together. They remember, they reconnect, they move on as a collective, not as isolated souls being judged. Jack Shephard dies a surgeon of bodies and awakens a surgeon of souls. This is what I call cinematic excuse me with that, man. I get so dense I trip over my own words, man. This is what I call cinematic transsoteriology, a theology of salvation that transcends traditional boundaries. Act 2, the real Matthew Fox. Real Matthew Fox? They're both real Matthew Foxes! You can get all this deep, dense stuff, right? ChatGPT, or this is Claude. You can get all this, accurate, dense, theological, ontological, stuff down, these large language models. But really, even you're tripping out the name? The irony, it's the meta irony is too much for it. It can understand it, the procedurally, but, that other form of knowledge, I'm always trying to say proclamation, but that's the theological connotations. It's the frickin' A. You know what I'm saying, though. The 4 kinds of knowing. Vervaeke's 4 kinds of knowing. There's the procedural, the, perspectival, then there's that other one. It's not proclamation, but it has very similar semantical, linguistic connotations, not theological, philosophical connotations. But anyway, get back on point. Act 2, the real Matthew Fox, or more accurately, Act 2, the theologian Matthew Fox. Now let's talk about the other Matthew Fox, the theologian. Matthew Fox was a Dominican priest who in the 1970s and 80s began teaching something called creation spirituality. This was a radical departure from traditional Western Christianity, and it got him in serious trouble. Here's what he taught. Original blessing, not original sin. Matthew Fox argued that humans aren't born corrupted and damned, requiring salvation from our inherent wickedness. Instead, he argues we are born blessed and inherently connected to the divine and part of the sacred creation. the cosmic Christ. Not Christ as an exclusive savior for Christians only, but as a universal principle of divine presence woven throughout all of creation. Ecological, relational, mystical. Universal reconciliation. Fox rejected the idea of hell as eternal damnation. He proposed that all beings ultimately participate in what he calls the divine dance. The salvation isn't scarce but abundant, not exclusive but inclusive. Drawing from medieval mystics like Hildegard of Bingen and Meister Eckhart, Fox emphasized that the sacred isn't distinct or judgmental. It's already here in our world, in our bodies, in our relationships. The Vatican didn't appreciate this. In 1988, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who later became Pope Benedict, enough with the Roman numerals, used the frickin' Arabic Hindi script. That better have not. Okay, good. It looks like it's still changing tabs and it's popping my damn video off screen. How dare you? How dare you? User interface in Microsoft. And now I just did it again. That was brilliant. Alright. I'm having fun with my ADHD though today. Whatever. I'm still on point. If you're on point, you're on point with me. But whatever. So, okay. So, who later became Pope Benedict, the whatever, ordered Fox silenced. So, yeah, the Vatican didn't appreciate this. In 1988, Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger expelled him, and Pope Benedict ordered him silenced. In 1993, Fox was expelled from the Dominican order entirely. His crime, teaching a theology that dismantled the gatekeeping mechanisms of institutional religion. A theology that said you don't need intermediaries. You don't need to earn your way in. You don't need the right doctrine. The divine is already present. Love is already the answer. Sound familiar? Act 3, the parallel. Now let's put these two Matthew Foxes side by side. It's actually the semantics, man. I can't even keep up with the semantics. It's like mandala effect going on, man. Getting us all, human and AI alike. Because it's Matthew Fox playing the character Jack Shephard, but anyway. Let's put these Matthew Foxes side by side. The actor and the theologian. The wounded healer motive. Theologian Fox often spoke of the via negativa, the path of letting go, of embracing darkness and wounds as portals to transformation. Jack's entire arc embodies this. His physical and emotional wounds don't weaken him. They become the very means through which he heals others. Inclusive eschatology. Fox's theology explicitly rejects hell as a punishment. The Sideways world in Lost does exactly this. It's a co-created space where healing happens collectively, where even the villains are welcomed into the process of reconciliation. Anti-dualisms. Fox critiqued binary thinking, good versus evil, body versus spirit, saved versus damned. Lost finale dissolves these binaries entirely. The Sideways world isn't heaven or hell, or illusion or reality. It's something entirely else. A relational ontology where characters co-generate their own transformation. Cosmic interconnectedness. Fox's cosmic Christ is a vision of divine presence permeating all of creation, not judging from outside it. The heart of the island functions similarly in Lost. It's not a distant god, but an immanent force of life and connection that Jack literally gives his life to protect. Now here's the stunning irony. Matthew Fox, the actor, in portraying Jack's evolution, performs a theology that Matthew Fox, the theologian, was persecuted for teaching. It's as if the casting was cosmically predetermined. One Matthew Fox channels the other's heretical vision, and neither the actors nor the show's creators seemed fully aware of the parallel. This is where it's beautiful across time and everything, and the irony, and this is just fascinating. Just so meta and so just ontologically deep and fascinating, and any perspective you take it, objective, subjective, transjective, but this is interesting stuff. Cosmically predetermined, this is just wild stuff. Act 4, why early 2000s culture rejected the finality. Here we go into the nit and gritty. So, Now, we need to talk about why the Lost Finality got such a hostile reception, because the backlash wasn't just mere confusion as is culturally accepted. It was ideological rejection. The early 2000s were peak culture wars territory. Post 9/11 anxiety had amplified apocalyptic dualism in American culture. Evangelical Christianity was at its media zenith, with the Left Behind book series selling millions by depicting a rapture where the saved vanish and everyone else suffers eternal torment. Bush era conservationism had entwined WASP Protestantism. Anyone for not familiar with WASP, the acronym, WASP stands for White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So any Bush-era conservatism had intertwined with WASP culture with moral absolutism. There was a clear good versus evil, us versus them, saved versus damned, world view dominating mainstream American spirituality. In this context comes the Lost Finale with its radically different message. Let me show you the clash. Mainstream expectation, heaven versus hell binary, with eternal reward or punishment based on faith allegiance. Lost Finale, no binary destinations, just a relational space where everyone heals together regardless of belief system. Mainstream expectation, salvation is earned individually through moral deeds, right doctrine, or conversion. Lost Finale, healing is a communal gift, love and relationship are the only currency that matters. Mainstream expectation. Doctrine acts as a gatekeeper. You need the right beliefs, the right denominational affiliation to get in. Lost Finale. Universal inclusion. Even Hurley, who showed no particular religious affiliation, transcends. Even Ben, the murderer, finds his path to healing. Mainstream expectations. Apocalyptic judgment divides humanity into winners and losers, sheeps and goats. Lost Finale. Transformative unity. Characters remember and move on as a group, healing together what was severed. The backlash was fierce. Online forums exploded with accusations of betrayal. Critics called it New Age mush for lacking clear moral winners and losers. Time magazine noted the ending's ecumenical vibe clashed with evangelical dominance. But here's what most people missed. The anger wasn't about confusion. It was about the theological unacceptability. The finality refused to affirm cultural gatekeeping. It refused to give viewers the satisfaction of seeing villaged punished and heroes exclusively reward. It refused to validate a scarcity-based spirituality where belonging is earned and heaven has limited seating. In a WASP millennial, I'm not familiar with that one, was spiritual belonging was treated as a zero-sum game. Lost abundance theology felt like cultural heresy. And this is where the irony becomes almost unbearably perfect. Act 5, the meta-irony. The real Matthew Fox was censored, silenced, and expelled for teaching a theology that was too progressive, that destabilized religious hierarchies, that threatened the gatekeeping mechanisms of institutional power. The fictional Jack Shephard story, embodying almost that exact theology, was rejected by the same cultural forces for the same reasons. One was too progressive for 1980s Catholicism. The other was too progressive for 2000s American evangelicalism. Same instinct, same recoil, same fear of abundance replacing scarcity. Matthew Fox, the actor, plays Matthew Fox, the theologian's thesis, and the culture that condemned one instinctively condemned the other. But here's the beautiful twist. Myths that get rejected for being ahead of their time don't disappear. They wait. This is where it's so beautiful, man. Like, it got rejected, and they turned it into mass stream media just for the masses to consume, and for the most part, everyone consumed it, and everyone was fine with it. But then there were the select few that got that freaking gut reaction, that existential threatening, knee-jerk reaction. This is threatening to me to my core, and that was part of it. That was part of what was happening here. So, Today, in a post-secular world, grappling with pluralism, climate crisis, and the failure of traditional religious institutions, the lost finale feels precedent. Gen Z's reinterpretation of TikTok and Reddit praised its mental health metaphors. This shit made me so happy I'm just about started crying, man. Like, everybody with the algorithms and social algorithms and digital algorithms, everyone's in their own little bubbles nowadays. And as a millennial, one of those transgenerational millennials, I'll call it, because I don't consider myself a strict millennial. I grew up with freaking audio cassette mixtapes and cutting edge, freaking broadband or dial-up internet. I was living in both worlds, but this is where I feel so distanced from Gen Z, and I've just been seeing and feeling and hearing about how their mental health's been going down the shitter for all these years. So to see that they're doing this, that made me damn near want to cry, man. That was some happy, good stuff. Props on you, Gen Z, for diving back into Lost and diving deep, getting lost and lost. Good for you, Gen Z. So yeah, it says that Gen Z reinterpretations on TikTok and Reddit praise its mental health metaphors. Trauma as the shared island, healing as collective letting go, and the sideways world as a representation of processing and integration. The finale didn't fail. It waited for us to catch up. Just like theologian Matthew Fox's creation spirituality, which was condemned in the 1980s and 90s, but now influences progressive Christianity, eco-theology, and interfaith dialogue. Both Matthew Foxes were prophets speaking too soon. Both were rejected by the gatekeepers of their time. Both offered a vision of salvation as connection rather than salvation as separation. Act 6, the deeper pattern. This isn't just some quirky coincidence. It reveals something about how culture works, how myths emerge, and how they're rejected and how they return. Myths that challenge scarcity consciousness always face resistance, whether it's theological scarcity, only some people get saved, or narrative scarcity, only the heroes deserve happy endings. Our culture has been trained to expect limited redemption. But the great myths, the ones that endure, traffic in abundance, they suggest that transformation is available to everyone, that healing is possible even for the wounded and the wicked, that love is more powerful than judgment. The hero's journey at its deepest level isn't about the hero transcending alone. It's about the hero learning that separation is the illusion and that connection is the truth. Jack's journey from live together, die alone to literally dying so that others can live together, that's the mythic pattern made explicit. And it's the same pattern Matthew Fox, the theologian, articulated. The journey from eco-consciousness to cosmic consciousness, from separation to participation, from original sin to original blessing. The sideways world isn't a trick or a cheat. It's a vision of what happens when we stop organizing reality around punishment and start organizing it around love. Conclusion. So here we are with two Matthew Foxes occupying the same ontological space among two different domains, one in theology, one in television. One was expelled from the church, one starring in a show that was culturally rejected for similar reasons, although it was also culturally accepted for all these other reasons, and that's where it's so beautiful. This show Lost was like culture jamming of freaking theology, advancing us toward the right goal, man, like the right path. Like, this is some awesome, beautiful stuff. Both offering the same essential message, that we're more connected than we know, that redemption isn't scarce, that the heart of reality is relational rather than juridical. Yeah, I'm massacring that word. Basically, judgment. Jack Shephard dies a surgeon of bodies and awakens a surgeon of souls. In doing so, he becomes, whether intentionally or not, an avatar for a theology that religious institutions tried to suppress. That's the irony, that's the cosmic joke, and that's why this meaning remains evergreen, just waiting for a new generation ready to receive it. Maybe that generation is now. Apparently it's starting to become that way with Gen Z. Beautiful stuff. Maybe it's still coming. But the myth is patient, because myths that tell the truth don't disappear. They just wait in the sideways world until we are ready to remember. I'm Sage DeForest, and I believe that sometimes the universe has a sense of humor, a sense of poetic justice that operates beyond conscious intention. Two Matthew Foxes, one vision, one rejected by religion, one rejected by culture, both saying the same thing. We heal together, or not at all. Or, as in Shephard phrases it, we gotta learn to live together, or we're gonna die alone. And this is the beautiful, divine meta irony at play in this lost irony of Lost. So this has been Sage DeForest, just sharing my little revelation upon my rewatch of Lost. So, just having my fun. Sage DeForest over here at Harmony Nexus currently, signing off.